Thank you for joining us. So this is our entrepreneurship panel. I'm Andrea Casillas. I'm a second year at Cal State Fullerton, studying communications with an emphasis in journalism. I'm the LCI student assistant. So I do see a couple new faces. So welcome if this is your first LCI event that you're coming to, I guess. But now I'm going to introduce Dean Shaw and Professor Meredith whenever she would like to introduce herself.
Thank you so much. So hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Shaw, and I'm the Dean of the College of Communications. And I want to say thank you to Andrea and Alexis for all of your hard work putting this event together. And thank you also so much to our panelists. I know that you have amazing things to share, and I'm so excited that this panel is recorded because, like any good dean, I'm double booked in this hour. So I'll come back and watch the recording later. And I'm so sorry that I couldn't watch it live, but I know you'll do a great job, and I look forward to hearing what you have to say when I get the recording. So thanks to everyone for being here.
And hi, everyone. I'll just introduce myself quickly. Dr. Meredith. I'm one of the newest faculty here at Cal State Fullerton. I joined in August, and so I've been on campus a total of 3 times, but I am so excited to be involved with LCI because I really enjoy helping students get ready for jobs and careers and internships, and have a lot of advice to offer for my own mistakes. So I look forward to working with the current students at LCI.
Thank you, Professor Meredith. Thank you for being here as well. So now I'm going to kick it off to Alexis Flores, who will be moderating the panel and the event.
Thanks, Andrea. Super excited. So honored to be hosting this panel during Women's History Month, speaking to 4 individuals who are like spearheading a whole bunch of just different initiatives in their own fields is amazing. So thank you for joining us. I'll go ahead and get started with introducing our guests with their bios. So first up, we have Jeannette Ceja. Jeannette is an award-winning bilingual travel journalist, TV host, travel advisor, and global public speaker. She graduated in 2008 with a bachelor's degree in broadcasting journalism from Belmont University. The following year, Jeannette completed her professional producing program at UCLA. She has interviewed countless celebrities, politicians, athletes, and travel experts on the red carpet. Jeannette's work has appeared on ABC7 Los Angeles, Fox 11 Los Angeles, Mexico Travel Channel, and many more media outlets around the world. As a seasoned journalist, she writes articles about travel that include women and the Hispanic demographic. Her expertise encompasses luxury travel, female travel, and diversity travel. Her passion and dedication for travel has taken her to over 60 countries to date. Wow, congrats. And in 2019, Jeannette was awarded as one of the top 20 global women of excellence by the US Congressman Danny K. Davis and the Multi-Ethnic Advisory Task Force at the 7th Annual International Women's Day celebration. Last year, Jeannette was nominated for her work by the Los Angeles Business Journal at the Women's Council and Awards. She was also one of the nominees for the Best Travel Creator at the Tecla Awards, part of the 10th Annual Hispanicize Conference, honoring Latinx contributions to media. This year, she partnered up with Visit Pasadena as the Tourism Board's official bilingual spokesperson on National Plan for Vacation Day. You can find her at jetsetwithjeannette.com and at Jet Set with Jeannette on Instagram and Facebook, and at Jeannette Ceja on Twitter and LinkedIn. Thank you so much for joining us, Jeannette. And then we also have Caroline Salinas. Caroline Salinas is a co-founder of Our Vibes Media, a media brand that creates entertainment and informative content for Latinx, Gen Zs, and millennials. After its launch in 2020, the brand quickly grew on Instagram and TikTok. Caroline is a proud Chicana and CSUF alumna. She was recently featured in Voyage LA and the Latinas Create blog for her work with Our Vibes Media. Caroline also produces her own content, such as social media graphics and comedic sketches. Known for her personal approach to creating content, Caroline is passionate about her comedic and inclusive storytelling. She brings a diverse experience in the entertainment industry and in public service. You can find her on all social media platforms at The Sweet Carols and on Our Vibes Media. Thank you so much for joining us, Caroline. Then we also have the Twins PR, Maricela Huerta. Maricela has 10 years of professional experience in the fields of strategic communications with event planning throughout the country. Former employers include the US Treasury Department, the Latino Leaders Network, Public Broadcasting Service, and most recently, the Hillary for America Press Advance team. Most events featured high-level officials, including mayors, members of Congress, appointed officials, presidential candidates at the Democratic National Convention and the Republican National Convention, including President Barack Obama and other celebrities. Wow, amazing, congratulations. Thank you for being here with us. Maritza Huerta. Maritza is an accomplished public relations professional with comprehensive media relations experience, securing top-tier placements for her clients across print, broadcast, and other online platforms. She has led a public affairs campaign for foreign and domestic clientele. She specializes in high-level communication strategy, including media relations, messaging, digital media, and marketing. A sample of Maritza's placements include the New York Times, the Washington Post, Forbes, Huffington Post, the Wall Street Journal, CNN, BuzzFeed, and the Associated Press, and numerous other international outlets and domestic Spanish press. You can find them both at the Twins PR on Twitter and Instagram, and at the Twins Public Relations on Facebook. Thank you so much for joining us. Again, super excited about hosting this entire panel, getting all your insight, and just being able to talk to some women of influence. So we have a couple questions to go over. So I'll go ahead and start it off with our very first question, which is, if you can tell us a little bit about your career path, the current brand or business that you have started. And we'll go ahead and kick it off with Jeannette.
Hi, thank you, Alexis. What an amazing panel, and I'm so honored to be here as well with the students. I was once you about 12 or so years ago-ish, and I was always so proactive and so excited when speakers would come because I was like a sponge. I just want to learn, and I'm still that way to this day. But so my journey goes back to really when I was a young girl, about 7 or 8 years old. I would watch all the TV shows. I mean, I was born a communicator. I would watch, CNN. I would watch Christina Amanpour, and I thought I wanted to be a foreign news correspondent at first. And then I literally would change the channel, and I changed it to the Travel Channel, the Discovery Channel, the History Channel. And then I was glued to learning about the world and how big and beautiful it was. I would see Rick Steves, Samantha Brown, the late Anthony Bourdain showing me the world, and I was just so in awe of them. However, I never saw a Latina or a Latino showing me the world. So at a very young age, I recognized that. And it kind of propelled me into this lifelong career path as a Latina and as a woman to really want more representation and just to have more inclusivity. So I started my first travel journal when I was 12. I would go to Mexico every year to visit my grandparents. I would literally take a journal with me and disposable cameras. Social media did not exist at that time. I don't even know if the internet really existed. I don't know, but I would just write everything down. And I think fundamentally what a journalist is you're writing, basic writing, journaling. So I didn't really know what I was doing at the time, but I just wanted to record everything I saw in Mexico. I'd come back, I would go to the local, pharmacy, develop my photos, and I pasted it on my journal. So I was literally creating a travel journal when at 12, 13 years old. And then moving to high school, I got really involved in writing and the high school newspaper. And that's when I was 18, I had to decide, okay, what do I want to do for the rest of my life? What am I going to dedicate my school to? And so that's when I decided to study journalism, because it really was all leading up to that. I knew communications was my strength. I really liked travel. So in undergrad, I went to Belmont University, which is in Nashville. And at the time, my student advisor was the travel editor for the statewide newspaper called The Tennessean. So it really worked perfectly because he was able to guide me on how to do travel writing. And he really believed in me. And that's what you always want, like a mentor or a professor that believes in you and sees the potential. He encouraged me to apply for the CHIPS Quinn Scholar. So if anybody knows about CHIPS Quinn Scholar, it is a program that is dedicated to students of color who want to do journalism. And so I applied for that and I got it. And they flew me to Washington, D.C. to get training, multimedia training. And then part of that was an internship. So I did an internship at Fox News Chicago, and I was one of Tamron Hall's interns at the time. So those experiences really molded me to be a good a journalist, but also really focus on the travel side, which at the time, again, I really just didn't know how to do it, but I knew that that's what I wanted to focus on was travel. And then we'll fast forward the past 10 or so years. I worked in sports for a few years. I worked in entertainment reporting because at the time I didn't know how to do travel full time. And also social media was not even really in the picture, so that wasn't out. So what I would do is when I was working these full-time jobs, I would do travel writing on the side. I would do freelance gigs. I would do weekend jobs. I also would go to every single travel conference from the New York Times. The LA Times used to have a travel conference, the LA Adventure Show, and I would pay for my own ticket and I would go and I would attend all the sessions I could. I would meet the people that I could. I would network. And I just came from the mindset what I was there to learn. I had no expectations. I wasn't expecting anything. I really wanted to learn from the beginning of the whole travel industry. So my journey is quite different than maybe some other people that specifically focus on travel. It's been a really long journey, but I'm grateful because I think now it's really taken off to where I have come, and all the success and accolades are really just the seeds that I've been planting over the 10, 12 years. And I mean, hard work, guys, like, and what I'll talk about later is like when you're pitching a story, when I interviewed Anthony Bourdain in New York a couple, 6 or so years ago, I interviewed him for Tribeca Film Festival. When I was pitching to media publications, because I was such a fan of Anthony Bourdain, I thought it would be a no-brainer. Like Anthony Bourdain, of course, who wouldn't want to interview him? I also studied him for many years, and I realized he didn't do a lot of red carpet interviews that I was aware of. So he had to do the red carpet because he was the executive producer of this film that was being premiered at Tribeca Film Festival. It was called Jeremiah Le Torre, which was based on a chef, and it was partnered with CNN. So when I saw that, I started pitching to different publications and I got 9 no's, right? So here's another thing as a student, as somebody who wants to accomplish a goal, something I learned was don't give up. 1 no is not the complete end. It might be a speed bump, like it might be a temporary pause. But if you really believe in your story and whatever it is that you're pitching, for example, keep going, because the 10th publication that I pitched to, they said yes. But if they didn't say yes, I was going to fly myself to New York, buy my own ticket to Tribeca Film Festival, sit down and watch it. And I would ask him a question during Q&A because that's how determined I was. So determination, persistence is key in my experience. So yeah, I'll stop there so others can talk.
Thank you. That a lot of things that we will definitely come back to, and then I'll go with.
I just want to say that I want to do a career change now. I'm like at 35, I still got time for a career change. So
yes, you do. Yes, you do.
Awesome story.
So yeah.
We'll go ahead and go with Maricela and Maritza on the question. Can you tell us a little bit about your current business, the Twins PR?
Sure. Well, hi, everyone. We're so excited to be here and meet all of you. Maricela, a little backstory on us. So we are originally from Anaheim, California. We both graduated from Cal State Fullerton in 2008. Maricela studied public relations and event planning, and I emphasized in journalism. From that, we went on to do internships through the HACU internship program. It's the Hispanic Association of Colleges and Universities, and their main focus is to get more Latinos in the government roles. And so we both flew out to Washington, D.C. for internships, and our intention was to go back to California, but 11, 12 years later, we're still here.
I'm married with children now, so I am literally stuck here.
And so Maricela and I, and this is, I think, something to emphasize too, under communications, there's so many different things that you can do with that major. Like you mentioned, Maricela went on to focus on event planning. She would do all the national conferences for PBS. I went on to go work in New York for a public relations firm there. But really what drove us to entrepreneurship is, one, we are the daughter of former migrant farm workers who went on to run their own business for 35 years. So I feel like that they gave us our front row seat to entrepreneurship.
And literally, we come from a family of 10. So I'm number 9 and Maritza's number 10. And more than half of our family are entrepreneurs. They have either, my parents have a car wash business. My sister, or the one above us, number 8, she opened up the Queer Gym, which is the first LGBTQ gym in the nation out in Oakland. So, I mean, we just come from a line of entrepreneurs. So,
yes, but what eventually drove us to launch our own company is so Maricela did work on the Hillary campaign on the advanced press team, traveling across the country for all the different rallies, managing the press. And at the time I was working for a PR firm in New York. And so when Trump took office, well, we all remember he launched by calling Mexicans, which were Mexican, criminals and rapists. And we saw that he won this campaign kind of by demonizing our community. We felt that it was better to launch our own company with the mission to change the way Latinos and minorities are portrayed in the media, because often that drives a narrative about our community. What's said in the media will drive the narrative. And so since then, right after that, we launched on January 2017. And we primarily work with Latino human and civil rights organizations here in DC. And now we work with Warner Media, specifically with their diversity and inclusion team. Again, because it's not just what's in the news, but it's also the way we're portrayed in different characters and who's telling our stories in Hollywood. So yeah, this is our 5th year in business, and
we're surviving. Yeah, so some of our clients here are like Voto Latino, the Latino Leaders Network, like she said, Warner Media, the Latino Museum. They've been fighting to get a Latino in the Smithsonian for 20 years now, so we're happy to have been part of that. So yeah, I mean, people have really given us a shot. Like you said about mentors, if I didn't have a mentor, there was no chance that we would be here. I mean, I came out here with the internship program, but my counselor at Catella High School was the one that helped me get to Cal State Fullerton. Crazy backstory, just because I think it's really important to have that mentor, is when I was going to Fullerton, my counselor, even though we did the AVID program, played basketball, we did volunteer work, all that good resume stuff to go to college, our counselor told us to not bother applying for a 4-year university because we'd only get in if they were trying to meet a quota. And luckily, Natalie Mendoza, who was also a counselor there, was like, girls, I'm your counselor now. You're going to come to me. And what happened was that counselor told me to take a wrong science class. So I didn't qualify for a 4-year university because I took a science class that I shouldn't have taken. So I was like, I can't, I was distraught. I was like, well, that's it. But luckily, Natalie Mendoza introduced me to John Reed, who was a diversity counselor at Cal State Fullerton. And he didn't know me, but the first day I went to go meet him, he walked me over to Dr. Gordon's office, who's a former president of Cal State Fullerton, and was like, look, this is Maricela. She's a hard worker. She deserves to be a Titan. Give her a shot to take that science class during the summer. And if she passes, let her enter Cal State Fullerton, admit her. And again, I never met John Reed before. He walked me straight into Cal State Fullerton's president's office, and he said yes. And I took the class, I passed, and I eventually graduated from Fullerton. And he was my mentor ever since. He pushed me to apply for the internship here in DC, and that's what drove us here. So, a lot of people come into your life, and if they're willing to help you, I mean, really take advantage of that, be grateful for that, pay it forward for others in the future. And that's what we like doing, things like this, to talk to students, and whatever we can do, we're always happy to help.
I love that. We need more people like Natalie and John Reed who helped you both out. That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. And then we'll go with Caroline to just explain a little bit about your current brand, Our Vibes Media.
Sure. Hi, everyone. First off, I want to say I'm honored to be on a panel with such accomplished women. So thank you for having me. Our Vibes is still a baby. We just launched January of 2020, and I just graduated in 2019. So I'm still in the early stages of my career. But I guess kind of my origin story is growing up, I love the arts. I was a drama kid, loved to sing and dance, but my parents were always like, you know, doctor or lawyer, those are your only options. And so I was always very proud of being Latina. I knew that, you know, I don't know what I want to be when I grow up, but whatever it is, I want to do something to help my community and give back. And so that's why I was like, okay, maybe I'll be like a lawyer or something. But then once I learned more about law, I was like, this isn't for me. And so I started off in college. I got right as a freshman at Cal State Fullerton, I got an internship working for an elected official for LA County. And so I worked in politics for about 3 years. I joined the communications team. I learned a lot. And so I thought that politics, you know, that would be my way. That's a good way to give back. I thought that was the only way to give back until I took a class at Cal State Fullerton called Mass Media and Ethnic Groups that was formerly taught by the former Dr. Inez Gonzalez. She ran LCI previously. And so she taught mass media and ethnic groups. And that's where I learned that, you know, there's so many opportunities for activism within the entertainment industry. And so I realized that I can combine my two passions and, you know, try to go toward a career in entertainment. And so that was kind of my start and segue. I was lucky enough that through LCI, I got an internship. LCI had a partnership with NHMC, which is the National Hispanic Media Coalition, and they do a lot of activism for Hispanics in media. And so LCI got me an internship through NHMC in the writer's room of Hawaii 5.0. So I was very lucky that I got such a really cool internship straight from, you know, working in a completely different industry. And so from there, I jumped around doing different internships and different studios and learning a lot about Hollywood and the industry and having experiences learning firsthand about the issues of lack of representation, being in rooms that were like didn't have any people of color in them, and seeing like firsthand that there's issues. I learned a lot. And then from there, you know, the pandemic happened and I was working as an assistant for a TV show, and the pandemic just kind of shut everything down. And so luckily, about a month before the pandemic, I teamed up with other alumni from Cal State Fullerton who are also content creators and wanted to be writers and were familiar with social media. And we said, what if we launched a page together? Like, we're already creating content on our own. I had been doing sketches a year before, posting them on social media and receiving good feedback. And so we're like, maybe we can go further if we team up and do something together. And so together we launched Our Vibes Media, and there's 8 of us. The majority are from LCI. We met through LCI. And yeah, we've just been putting in a lot of work over the past year, trying to create content together, although virtually. And yeah, mainly we're on Instagram and TikTok at the moment doing sketches and just trying to create our own representation. We saw kind of a lack of SoCal representation when it came to national Hispanic media. And so we kind of want to represent the LA area, represent Chicanos, represent South Americans, Salvadorians. That's who is on our team at the moment. Yeah.
Thank you. I love, again, this conversation because within like this entire little time, we already knocked out 4 questions that I had, and I'm loving it. So thank you also so much just for being open and insightful on everything. So my next question is gonna be, what is an important first step that you would tell someone who wants to go in the same route as, or a similar route as you, to do? And I will go ahead and start it off with Maricela and Maritza on this one.
I think for me, and again, what helped me was an internship. Try to find, and again, go big. I thought I wasn't going to get into the Haku program because over 6,000 people apply and only 300 get in the summer. So I remember telling John, no, and he's like, why not you? Why not you? So I applied and I got in, and then the next year Maritza applied and she got in. But I think I didn't know I wanted to go into events at all. I mean, I was just something that my supervisor asked me to help with a diversity program within the Treasury to do a conference. I was like, I don't know how to do a conference, but give me a to-do list and I'll do everything on the list. And then I figured out that I was really good at it and that I really enjoyed it. And that kind of set the path for me. So I think internships, especially when you're a student, people want to help you. They are like all about helping students, leading the way, you know, the lending a hand, contacts, connecting you with folks. So my tip would be definitely get into some internships.
Yep.
Thank you. And you, Maritza?
Yeah, so internships is great, not only for the connections, but also so that you figure out what you want, kind of going off of what she said. But I think the biggest struggle for me personally is the self-doubt, right? We often, I mean, if you would have told us that she would have been working on the Hillary campaign and that I would be managing press at the Congressional Hispanic Caucus Institute, we just would have never thought that back then, right? So I think it's always important to find a way to get over your self-doubt and surround yourself with people that are going to support you and encourage you, because you don't want to close the door on yourself before you get that no. And like kind of like Jeannette was saying, the no's are, I mean, they just are continuous, especially for us. We constantly pitch press, and so you get tons of no's, but when you get that one yes,
Oh yeah, we celebrate every yes we get from reporters, or we text each other or call each other. I mean, it's
yeah. So don't let your self-doubt limit what you go after.
Thank you so much. That's something that we all definitely need to take into account for our personal lives. And then I'll go ahead with Jeannette.
Yeah, I agree with Maricela and Maritza. I would definitely recommend to do as many internships while you're still in college as you can. I would also, if you're interested in the travel space, as far as in any spectrum, I would suggest to do a study abroad. I did a study abroad, of course, post-pandemic, we're hopefully in a better time. When I was in college, I did a study abroad in Sicily, in Italy, and I was able to work a way to get 6 or 8 of my credits that I would have gotten anyways, and to have gotten them in Italy. So I did a Mediterranean ecosystem class that qualified as my biology credit, and then I took an Italian class which qualified for my foreign language credit. So I worked with my student advisors and I worked with my professors to make that happen. So if there's a study abroad program at your school or university, I would recommend that. Also, with what Maricela and Maritza said, internships, I did 4. So I did 2 paid and 2 non-paid internships. Of course, I would recommend paid internships if you can. I did 2 news internships, which actually showed me that I did not want to do the news personally. I did a local CBS internship in Nashville. Fun fact, it was where Oprah did one of her first reporting jobs, because Oprah has some history in Nashville. She also went to TSU for some time. So that was a huge honor. But I realized I didn't want to do the news because my personality is just too smiley for me. And so I would just basically cry every night, because it's reality. The news is real. It's not like entertainment where they're actors and everyone goes home and they're okay. It was like going with reporters and photographers on stories, and these are real stories. So for me, internship showed me that I did not want to do the news. So again, study abroad, do as many internships as you can. Mentors, if you can get a mentor, if there's somebody specifically that is doing what you want, kind of again going with what Maricela and Maritza said, if they see you're a student and you're committed and you're serious, I guarantee you there's many people out there who would be willing to give you their time, advice, connect you. I have several students who I help, and I speak to a lot of universities over the years and classes about whenever I can, because I like to give back, because you guys, the students, are so important. You guys are our future, and it's important that that people believe in you and people want you to be successful. And if there's a way that we can help you, that we're there for you. My only ask is that you're committed and serious, because it's we are very busy, but I'm happy to help always. So if you can get a mentor, I have a mentor for hosting. I have a mentor for public speaking. I actually have 2 mentors. One mentor who helps me with the business side, and one with the skill set, because public speaking, the best public speakers, I watch TED Talks all the time. The best public speakers make it look so easy, right? But what I've learned in the past 5 or so years of doing Toastmasters and getting mentorship with public speaking is it's really a skill set. The best speakers invest a lot of time and money into this skill. So whatever it is that you want to do, a mentor can help you with that. Also kind of touching again with what Maritza and Maricela says, mindset. Mindset is so important. For me, knowing my why is what's kept me going in the difficult times when people didn't believe in me, maybe when I doubted myself because I didn't see a clear path. I knew my why, but I didn't know the how. So I was kind of figuring it out through my career and through my life. But mentors kind of helped me get back on track. But knowing your why is important. Mindset, personally, over the years, I've been working on my mindset. So doing affirmations, I read a lot of great books that help me in self-development. I listen to a lot of podcasts, anything that can help me become the best version of myself. There is a thing called imposter syndrome where we think we're like, who are we to do this? A lot of people also have the fear of success or fear of failure, understanding if you have one and which one. I had fear of success. So anytime that I was being successful or seen, I felt uncomfortable. So I would self-sabotage. So mindset is so important. And I think that it really sets you apart because, again, with the whole Bourdain interview, if I didn't believe if I wasn't determined and believed it was possible, I would have never happened. And it's to this day one of my best interviews of all time because it meant so much to me. And sadly, he's no longer here. So for me, I will always treasure those few minutes I had to interview him on the red carpet. But it just takes determination and mindset, believing in yourself, whatever that may be. And when you believe in yourself, you will also ask. So you will reach out to a mentor, you will reach out to whoever it is, a job applicant or whatnot. So a month ago, I interviewed Samantha Brown, who I watched since I was a young girl. It was a full circle moment. I interviewed her on my podcast called Global Conversations. And I had the moment to say, thank you for being a woman, for showing me the world. And if you listen to the episode, I mean, I literally start off crying because it meant so much to me. And she saw my determination and my work, and she knew I was serious. So she accepted my interview request, right? But because I believed in myself, I asked her and I reached out and I never gave up. And that can apply to anything that you want to accomplish. All that is all interconnected. So that's all, advice I would give, and I give to myself too. So, yeah.
I love it. Everything you were saying, it's like, wow, she knows something about my life because she's talking directly to me. One thing you actually did touch on that I actually do want to do a little follow-up question is you mentioned your why and like finding your why. Can I ask, do you feel comfortable in answering what is your why?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So as a young girl, the reason why I thought I wanted to be a foreign news correspondent was because, can communicate with the world, which is still part of my why. But when I changed it to travel, I really liked, and I still like, how travel has the ability to unite humanity, to unite people, because when you travel, it can be to a different state. It doesn't have to be to a different country. But when you travel, I really believe that it breaks a lot of the isms that exist, like racism, ageism, sexism, all these isms and stereotypes that exist but may not be true. When you go out and you're able to physically, meet the locals, see a different culture, have your own experience, I think it makes you a more well-rounded, more open-minded, more compassionate human being and global citizen. So I think my why continues to be that I found how travel can help humanity, can unite people instead of divide people. I think it can unite people. So my why is that. And then on top of that, as a Latina and as a woman, to build a more inclusive travel movement, because as a young girl, I didn't really feel seen. So young generations like you, students, and younger, like my nieces, it won't be a question. They will just see themselves, everywhere. Because it's a real reflection of the world. The world is so diverse and beautiful, and I love that. And I think even in the travel industry, it's just reawakening to that, and a lot of movement is happening.
I'm excited for the future. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And then Maricela and Maritza posted a comment. The most important word in the English language only has 3 letters, A-S-K, ask. I love that. That's an amazing quote by Mickey Ibarra. So thank you for sharing that. That's a great one. I'm gonna start using that. And then Caroline, again, the question is what is it again? What is an important first step that you would take that you would tell someone else who wants to go into the same or a similar journey as yours?
It's 100% what that quote was. I would not have had the experiences that I've had today if I didn't let people know what my interests were, if I didn't speak to professors or let them know what my interests were. I know like in college, something that a lot of people deal with is not knowing exactly what they want to do. And I think people don't talk enough about how okay that is because we're still so young. There's so much pressure to know exactly what you're going to do and commit to that to the rest of your life. But you know, I started off in politics, and then because I worked in politics, I realized that I didn't want to go spend the rest of my life in politics. So I'm thankful for that experience. So I guess my advice is to say yes to as many opportunities as you can, although you're not for sure. You're not sure that you exactly want to do that for the rest of your life, because every experience is going to teach you something. And whether it teaches you that you do love that, or it teaches you that you don't want to go into that, it's still super valuable. So let people know what your interests are, although they're all over the place. You know, someone will give you something and everything will fall into place, I think.
It's like you mentioned earlier on taking the opportunity at a writer's room and it being your first time. It really is that yes moment of that makes a difference. So thank you for sharing that. And then
I did want to share a story that reminded me of is when I did my internship here. Again, our plan was always to go back to Southern California. But literally a week before I was set to go back after my final internship, one of my friends we're chatterboxes, we're always, out networking events. So I was telling people that I was super into events and how I've learned that events is my thing and I love it. And someone that I met there heard of a job opportunity with the Latino Leaders Network. And on Wednesday, emailed me about it. On Thursday, I sent my resume. On Friday, I did the interview. And on Saturday, when I was supposed to return home permanently, I just called my older sister and told her to please tell my mom that I had accepted a job in DC because I was so scared she was gonna be upset. I went to California for the weekend, packed my stuff, and then my first day on the job was an event over at the DNC, the Democratic National Convention. And I said, yes, I'll take the internship. And even though, again, that was a job. Yeah, that was a job. So that kind of sparked the whole movement over to DC, and just started talking about what you want. So that was great. I always tell people, I was like, if you don't have, for example, a lot of people right now might not have jobs, and some people I feel are ashamed about it. But I'm like, no, if you don't have a job and you're seeking for one, let the world know that you're looking for a job, what you're interested in, what you're willing to work in. I was like, PR that let people know.
Speak it into existence.
Yes.
I always say it. Yeah. Thank you so much. That's amazing. I love that story. If we can we get a little bit more on the personal side? I know entrepreneurship can really be difficult at times. Sometimes there's even people who are like, don't do it. Like just in Caroline's case, it was her parents telling her, become a lawyer, become a doctor, something reliable. You already know what it does. Entrepreneurship, you don't know the outcome. Has that ever happened to you? And if so, how did you overcome that? And if
Maritza would tell me she wanted to launch, and well, this might not be politically correct, but when she was working for the PR firm in New York, she was like, we're over here grinding, spending long hours just to make the white man richer. And where do we see the benefits in that? We don't get the gratitude or whatever. So she wanted to let's launch, let's do our own thing. But I was working at PBS. I absolutely love my job, love my boss, love to travel. And I was like, twin, unfortunately, you can't afford my salary. You don't offer health benefits. So I just couldn't launch with her. I didn't have the guts to go after it on her own. But after the Hillary campaign, I was so moved by just the idea that Trump was going to run our country, that he was going to keep attacking us, and we were just going to sit there and do nothing, that I was like, you know what, let's just go for it. And now we're doing great, and she's affording my salary, and we're doing our thing. But I was, again, that was a self-doubt. I was like, we're never going to make enough where I'm going to be comfortable, paying my bills just off of our business. And what about health benefits and all those things? You just get so safe and like a corporate job that you're too scared to launch and do your own thing. But once you do, I can't imagine us going back to that now.
Yeah. I mean, I think entrepreneurship is such an emotional roller coaster. Every single week is different. And there's no way to build that thick skin until you're in it. For example, when the pandemic hit, a lot of the work that we do revolves around getting media to our clients' events. So when the pandemic hit, we lost 80% of our contracts in 3 days, gone for the year. And so, of course, we let the panic sink in, and we like kind of sat in our feelings for a while. And so there goes, you're low in the roller coaster ride. And then we thought about like, okay, let's not think about trying to hold on to what we were. Let's look at what is our client's problem that we can help them solve. And so we thought, okay, well, they have sponsorship money that they need to go towards an event, or they're going to lose that sponsorship money. And no sponsorship money means no consulting money for the Twins PR. So we have to help them put together virtual events. And so did we know virtual events?
We went to YouTube University.
And so I'm like, I'm going to start putting the deck together to pitch clients. You start YouTubing. And she's like, well, shouldn't we wait until we become, we master this and we become experts? I'm like, no, like these people need solutions now. And so long story short, we pivoted from in-person media relations to virtual event production, and last year ended up being our second highest grossing year because there was such a demand for that, and it really actually reinvigorated like our passion for our business, because we've been doing it for so long, and so to have a new service that was, I mean, we got to work with Rock the Boat to train NFL teams on how to register all the coaches, staff, and teams to vote. And so anyway, and then now we're in a high, right? Now we got our second highest grossing year. And so it's just such an emotional roller coaster. The highs are highs and the lows are lows.
I love that story. The pivot is what got me. It's what's the solution that they're gonna need, and let's work out now for it. Don't even ask. We'll just tell them.
Yeah, that's really what we did.
And all it took was one client to say yes, and then the next one picked us up, and that's how we got to where we are now.
Like Lady Gaga says, it only takes one person.
That's right.
Thank you. And then we'll go ahead with Caroline. If you can share your story as well.
Can you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good. Just because entrepreneurship can be difficult at times, has there been a moment where it got really difficult, and how did you overcome it?
Oof. We were so excited when we launched our Vibes, because we like filmed it like a really cool professional trailer, and we released it in like early February, and we're like, okay, we're gonna like, our goal is 10K in 1 year. We're gonna like have these shoot days. We're gonna film a bunch of cool content. We're gonna create this next big thing. And so when the pandemic hit, everyone just kind of lost motivation, because we saw no path forward. We're like, how are we gonna shoot together? How are we gonna continue creating together? A lot of us lost our other jobs because our Vibes is kind of like our side hustle. And so that was extremely difficult. But, eventually you adapt. And I just, even learning today from Jeannette and Maricela and Maritza, to being patient, it's something I'm still trying to learn, especially right after graduating. I'm like, oh, I got to have my career started within a year. And now I'm about to hit 2 years, and I'm still not, my goals are really far away. So I'm trying to learn to be patient. And to know that everybody has their path, not compare myself to other people, and kind of continue to reflect on what I have accomplished and find that like self-love and self-confidence to be proud of the things that I have accomplished. Sometimes, you have those hard days where I feel like I haven't accomplished anything. And my friends beg to differ. And so I have to kind of continue to put in that self-work of, respecting myself, respecting my accomplishments, and being patient.
Thank you. That like really touches on the heart, like pulls my heartstrings, porque I know for myself, it's difficult at times graduating a year or two ago and still not having much to show for it. But in reality, you have so much to show for it. And I think like our Vibes Media love it, and I can't get enough of it. So I'm glad that you're doing it. I'm glad that you have that entire brand for yourself and your team.
We're going to continue putting in the work. That's all that matters.
Also know that we're going to push it to our very large families, and we're going to get some more followers today.
Love that. This is what this is about, connection. Love it. And then Jeannette, if you can go next.
Absolutely. And I will just say, like, I am so proud of what Caroline, you guys have and are doing at Our Vibes Media. So they hosted a panel, Latinx panel during Hispanic Heritage Month. And they reached out to me to speak on the panel, which was amazing. And you guys are doing a lot for the community, for Latinos. So you are doing a lot. And I mentioned to Cheryl, I was on the panel, and I was like, I wanted whatever we can do to collab or to work together, let's do something. So it's still out there. So if we can think of things in the future, I want to help and collab. As far as entrepreneurship, absolutely. It, like Maricela and Maritza were saying, it is this like roller coaster times. When I was working in LA, I was taking night classes at UCLA for producing film and TV, the professional program. So it was at night. So in the morning, I worked at Fox Sports for a few years. I did the 4:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. shift for 3 years. Thank goodness I'm a morning person naturally, but even 4:30 a.m., waking up at 3:30 a.m. every day, it can take a toll on you. So what I realized during those years working in live TV for a big network was I would, give them my all, which is great. 4:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. shift. And then sometimes they would ask me to do, if I could work in a double shift for whatever reason. And I wanted to show them that I was determined, I was a hard worker. So I would say yes. And then I would do my night class. So I would really sometimes have literally just full schedule. But a couple years passed by, and again, my travel was still there. So I would do weekends. I would give my real dream crumbs. I would give it just a few hours a week or a month because I would be so busy or tired. What I realized a few years in was I was moving at a snail's pace. I was not giving the real attention and focus of my dream. And I didn't know how or when I could keep going like this because I was burning out. So I knew I would have to do something. And so that's when I started to really just know that I was eventually going to have to pursue my dream, maybe fail, maybe not. But at this rate, I was never going to do it because I don't know, it wasn't enough. I wasn't giving it enough attention. So that being said, I eventually did go. I told my employer at the time, I said, I'm going to move to Italy, which is what I did because I wanted to work and live abroad. I wanted to write and work abroad. And you know what he told me at the time? I mean, he was like one of the heads at Fox Sports at the time. He said, you know what, if I was your age and single, I would do it. And this was like 8 or 10 years ago. And the thing is that as far as travel, and now going through the pandemic, we're still in it, right? I appreciate travel more than ever because I can't really travel. I mean, even if I wanted to go, we are literally limited. So a lot of people put off travel till, way later in life, which for different reasons I understand. But you know, I hope that people, when things is safer, when borders open up, you know, in a post-pandemic world, that people really take the time to travel, make it a priority, to take their 1 week or 2 week vacation, to not hold it off for 20 years, you know, to live in the moment. I hope that they do that. And like students, if and when study abroad is available, take it, take that opportunity. There's a lot of scholarships as well available for students who want to study abroad a lot. Get involved in organizations like I'm involved in NAHJ. I'm also on the board of directors for Travel Unity, which is a nonprofit that helps, tourism boards and helps companies with diversity and inclusion. So I've been with them for over 2 years now. Diversity inclusion is very important to me. Again, it's part of my purpose. I want everyone to feel included and seen, especially in the travel space, which I see it's still not where it should be. So I forgot what your question was. Sorry, I get really excited. What's your question?
No worries. Everything you're saying is relatable.
Right, and entrepreneurship. So in March, right before it was the official pandemic, the end of February, March, I had finally got the guts and the belief in myself. So I wrote a treatment for a travel show, what I learned in producing class. I wrote a TV show treatment. I started to pitch, and I actually got sponsors who were interested. And I got 2 production companies who were fighting to come fly with me to Egypt because I was going to speak at a conference. I did speak at a conference in Cairo. So I had sponsors, I had production teams, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to do it. I'm going to go to Egypt. I'm going to speak at a conference, and I'm going to film a pilot for my show that I've been dreaming about for 10, 12 years. I just didn't believe in myself until then. And it was all in the works. And then the pandemic happened. And then of course, kind of like with a lot of people, no sponsorship, no travel, everything that I had been working up until literally just fell completely. And I was devastated. I mean, of course, everybody was, but like I felt like I was this close to making my dream a reality. And literally, I cried for a few days, took it in, and I just accepted, like Caroline would say, patience. I accepted, things happen in time when it's supposed to. So that being said, being an entrepreneur is just being flexible and open-minded, and just, understanding there may be good days, there may be bad days, but keep focusing on your why, and then the solution. So business is, finding a solution to people's problems, right? To helping people find solutions. So during the pandemic, I had to also pivot because I'm not traveling. A lot of my travels were canceled indefinitely due to the pandemic. So I pivoted and started to do more writing, more virtual events. I mean, like, we're all doing right now. But I really had to pivot and find other ways that I could be of service. So as an entrepreneur, it's finding ways to be of service and to help people. And then just pivoting with what's happening, like right now, the pandemic. So that's my best advice that I've been doing as well. Another thing is, when I was in college in journalism school, my professors recommended me this book. It's called The Writer's Market. So if anybody wants to write as a freelancer, you can do that even as you're a student, I'm sure, or post. This is a really good book. Of course, this is 2 years old, but it's the only one I could find, but I have the 2020-2021 version. And this book is great because it tells you different publications, exactly what they're looking for, what the editor is looking for, what their pay rate is, what they're not looking for. So that's a great thing you can do, even right now during this pandemic is writing, especially if you're communications, if you're PR, if you're a journalist, if you're interested in that. Writing is always going to be a great asset to have, to be a good writer, right? To go back to writing. So I would recommend that.
Love it. A lot of, again, so much relatability here that I'm loving, soaking it all in. And there's a couple things that you mentioned that I definitely want to get back to after this one question. And this one is going to be for anyone. everyone kind of mentioned a little inkling of a support system. I know with the twins, you guys mentioned how your parents are entrepreneurs, half of your family is entrepreneurs. So how did your, like, everyone's support system look like? And I asked that because our students come from various different backgrounds, some of them from single parents, others from like low income. We have others who have their parents who really don't understand what they're doing in communications, but they're doing it anyway. And others who want to pursue like different entrepreneurship routes. A support system sometimes is hard to find, and others is like a very abundance of wealth there. How did yours look like? And if it didn't look so good, how did you continue to push forward? I'll let anyone take this one because it is a little more personal.
Well, for us, I mean, we do come from a big family and we have each other. So we always have each other's back no matter what happens, even if we get on each other's nerves, we will support you till the end.
The pandemic tested that.
The pandemic definitely tested our patience with each other, but we've always, I mean, again, we come from a big family, farm workers, and I know for me, for Cal State Fullerton, I worked 2 jobs, worked at McDonald's and now just to put our way through school. And my parents, same thing, they didn't really understand, even till about 2 years ago, they really didn't get what we were doing. They knew that we were doing something, that we were using our degree for something, but didn't really understand what that was until they attended an event in person and saw how cool our clients were, what we do. And
My mom was like, I thought you guys did quinceañeras. I'm like, Mom, we did conferences.
Right. So, but we've been very fortunate to have a good support system. Even people that aren't family, just, you know, working with clients, and they get to know us and they like us, and then they recommend us to other people. And then it's just like the people that the clients that we've gotten, I feel like are all of it's through word of mouth. We don't do ads or anything like that. And they've really given us a shot, you know, 2 young Mexican Americans, and, you know, they just, once they got to know us and saw that we were really driven to provide good service, go above and beyond their expectations, you know, that's what kept them coming back. And we've been very fortunate that they've given us a shot, for sure.
I'm also, I want to plug in another book. I wrote down the book that you mentioned, Jeannette, because I want to read it, but I'm also reading this book called Atomic Habits, which is a really great book. It's a really good book, right? And so it talks about, if you want to change your habits, surround yourself with like-minded people, or people that are doing the same thing that you want to do, that you want to imitate. So if you're looking for a specific group, look for a group that you have something in common with, and that they're doing what you want to aspire to do. And that alone will provide like a great support system, and a lot of learning through that group. The other great support group that we have is that we have a small network of other Latino-owned PR firms that we work with. So if we're overwhelmed, like right now, Maricela's on maternity leave. So if we are swamped, I reach out to these other Latino-owned PR firms and we partner on a bunch of events. Or if one day I'm just over it and stressed, I'll call them and be like, did you ever have a client? And just, you know, vent, and they'll listen to me. And so just, I know that they can relate, and, you know, they'll walk me through that process. So yeah, just same thing I wanted to be a good Latino PR firm. So I surround myself with other Latino PR firms, and they've been great. I mean, they're family, and they're all over across the country. So they're not just here in DC, they're in Texas, California, New York. So that's been a great support system too.
Love that. Thank you. Does anyone else? Caroline, go ahead.
I agree 100%. I think when it comes to entrepreneurship and our vibes, my best support system has been like-minded individuals. LCI, my contacts, my network from LCI, and then also friends that I've made through networking in like the industry events in Hollywood. Like I met my co-founder Cheryl through LCI, and like I said, most of our vibes, the team is from LCI. And we also got one of our biggest like sponsored content creation opportunities because of LCI. It was through someone who works in PR in LCI that was working for Ford Latino. They allowed me and Cheryl to create a video for Ford Latino promoting their new car. And so that was like one of the biggest projects for our vibes that we got to do within our first year. And I'm super thankful for that. And also like through these networking and that support system, we've gotten most of our sponsorships. Like we did a video for a card game this year that was really fun. And that was done because of friends that just knew what we were doing with our vibes, believed in us, and wanted to support us. So definitely networking, I think, is the most important way to help you as an entrepreneur and to create that strong support system. If they can help you and they believe in you, you should also, believe in your friends as well and support them any way you can.
Yeah, love that. Completely true. I try to do that as much as possible. Supporting our friends is the easiest thing that we can definitely do to support our community. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything that they're saying. Just yesterday, I was on a panel. I co-hosted a panel with Impact Travel Alliance, and it was about Latinas actually as entrepreneurs in travel space. And a lot of those organizations and like Travel Unity, for example, and NAHJ that I've been a part of now for a few years. Just meeting people within those networks and the support group, because for me too, in the travel industry, we're all going through this, both personally and professionally. And that's kind of why I actually started the podcast, Global Conversations, because I was having these conversations with people who were losing their jobs, their businesses, you name it. It wasn't just, it was their whole lives. They were just falling apart. And I wanted to help. I wanted to do something, and I didn't know what and how at the time. And I myself was going through my own, emotional roller coaster. I mean, everything I worked for also was just, I had no idea what was going to happen. So I wanted to be of service. So I started the podcast, and, again, it was all purpose. Like I never was like, I'm going to monetize, and I still haven't monetized on it yet by choice. But because I just wanted to help. And so through this podcast, though, I have been growing and learning. It's been helping me because through people's stories and through different, people that from cruise lines to I actually interviewed this, he's the first Latino White House correspondent for CBS News. His name is Finn Gomez, and he's a White House producer. And he actually started a scholarship between NAHJ and any student who wants to do an internship with the White House, something like that. Amazing. I learned from him, from the CEO of a cruise line to Samantha Brown, to a reporter from Mexico Travel Channel, to everybody, all different areas of travel industry. So that was a great support for me because I was learning through their journeys, and the travel community, the Latino community, with NHJ, with students, like with you guys tonight, with our vibes. For me, it's always been just available and wanting to be of service and to help. And I think that when you have people like that around you, and people who want you to be successful and who see your potential and who want you to play bigger, to shine brighter, to go further, to do more, because they know you can. And right now as well, there's a lot of great opportunities, especially for Latinos, because the diversity, the people and companies and brands and sponsors, et cetera, are recognizing the lack of representation, especially within Latinos and Hispanics. So now is a great opportunity. There's more opportunities, and there's going to be much more in the future. So if anybody is interested in specifically travel, contact me, reach out to me. I'm happy to help in any way I can. So yeah.
Thank you. So we're going to do one last question to each panelist before we open it up to the audience for a quick little Q&A. And so I guess I'll go in the reverse order that just happened. So we'll go with Jeannette first. So earlier you mentioned about planting your little seeds everywhere you go. And you talk a lot about manifestation. You hosted a virtual vision board making course earlier this year, which I attended and was amazing. So thank you. And you talked about your trip to Egypt, how that was something you were manifesting. Then you got there, and it was a real awakening moment for you to see everything that was going on. With a whole bunch of manifestations that you're doing now, what's the next big one that you're looking forward to?
Such a great question. Alexis, you should have a podcast or a show or something because you're a great interview / moderator.
Thank you. I started one late last year, so
Hey,
hopefully it goes well.
hopefully it will. Speak it
It
into
will. It will go well.
I'm a huge manifestor. I'm a huge believer in law of attraction, speaking things into existence. I have like so many stories. And like Alexis said, I host usually every year a vision board workshop, which I do for free. It's my way of giving back. And so it was amazing. I limited to 30 people and over 50 wanted to come in. I wanted it to be intimate. My big dream, and the one that is still in me, you guys, is my travel show that's been in me for 15 years. It's my heart, my sweat, my tears, to do a travel show that's on a network, like a major network like OWN or CNN or Travel Channel or something. I really want to be a Latina that is showing the world to people, to generations. And I really believe that I'm worth it. I deserve it. I worked really, really hard. So that is on my vision board. It's been on my vision board even during this really difficult time. I still believe in it. Again, because my why is so much bigger than myself, right? It's not about me being famous or anything. I don't care about leaving an impact in this world. So yeah, I want to do the show. So I don't know, we'll put it out there in the
I love it. And I can feel it. It's going to come for you. And I will say you are worthy and you do deserve it. So thank you for sharing that with us.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And then Caroline, you talk a lot about networking, and I know a lot of the brand deals that you have gotten is because of your network and how you go to a whole bunch of different organizations and your relationships, you foster them really well. Can you give anyone some tips on how to do so, or how to continue doing so after you make the initial connection?
This is going to sound weird, but I feel like the best networking tool out there has been Instagram for me. DMing people, starting to follow new creators and creating that relationship just by replying to their stories, commenting, and then eventually those turns into conversations. So I definitely recommend Instagram to like create connections, because LinkedIn, people only put like their most professional experience. I feel like Instagram, you get to really know people on a personal level, and that helps a lot later when you want to create professional relationships, because you have already created that kind of personal relationship. So I definitely recommend fostering relationships on Instagram.
Okay. I know you do a lot of vulnerability and advocacy for different communities, organizations, and I see that a lot on your personal and on the professional Our Vibes Media accounts. It's amazing. Thank you. And then with Maricela and Maritza, I know you guys talk a lot about the huge events that you guys have done. Has there ever been a campaign that you possibly took on that may have been a little bit too much, but you overcame that and succeeded in it?
Well, for me, I know when I did the Hillary campaign, that was one of the hardest things I have ever done. I mean, it was so intense. Things got really brutal, as you know, during that presidential race. I mean, it got really ugly, and having to be there with the rallies and manage the press. I mean, it was anxiety. I had a lot of anxiety throughout, but I was only there the last 4 months. And somehow I got assigned to be the main person admitting people into the Javits Center in New York, all the press that traveled from all over the world. Some of them traveled with crew, rented camera trucks, everything, but they didn't have credentials. So me having to deal with that. But I mean, I forgot where I was headed with this.
What campaign did you think you couldn't do and you did?
Well, that one I thought there was many days where I wanted to quit. I know, I would stay on the road all the time. I'd be at the airport just waiting to get home and have some peace of mind for a little bit. And I'd get a call saying, don't get on the plane, go to the other terminal. You're going to go to this rally now. And it was just super intense. And even, I know Maritza was there with me at the Javits Center because she was doing side consulting. And when we lost, I was like, how? Like I did so much work. I took it personally, and I also, was very surprised that Trump won. But
So that was really hard, but I pushed it. I never quit. I continued to show up, go to the rallies. I was like, no, como no voy a poder? Yes, I can. Like, I got to do this, push through. And then eventually, you know, it led to the Twins PR, even though we didn't win the election, it did lead to the Twins PR. And it just goes to show, dale, 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 until you get somewhere that you want to be.
Yeah, it's the Si Se Puede movement for us, you know?
Definitely. I want to share a story on this topic. So my mantra for life is what I lack in skill, I make up in confidence. And so if I don't know how to do something, I have the confidence that I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to learn it. I'm a fast learner. I'll get it done. And so when I used to work for the government here in DC, but I wanted to go live the New York lifestyle. And so I applied for a job there, and it was for media relations, assistant director of media relations. And my specific job was going to be to pitch press. Mm-hmm. Well, I had been kind of in the PR world in my role here in DC, but I had never actually picked up the phone and called a journalist or emailed and pitched the one directly, right? So technically, I didn't have any experience in the job I was applying for, but it was the job I wanted to do. So long story short, I applied, I got the job, and my first day on the job, I get asked by my boss to pitch the New York Times, to pitch the Chinese consulate to the New York Times. And I'm like, okay, well, like, what do I say exactly? They're like, okay, go in the room over there and call. And I'm like, well, but call the editor? Yeah, call. So anyways, I was just lost. I mean, when I say I was trembling, like, you know, and when you can't do that with journalists, you have to say, boom, 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 this is why the story's hot. And anyway, so it was a hot mess. And there were so many days that I would go to the bathroom and like cry in the bathroom and then come back to the office. And I would call her because I would be leaving the office like at 9 o'clock at night, which is so overwhelmed. But I refused. I'm like, I'm going to learn how to do this. And so nothing, just by repetition, which is also talked about in the book Atomic Habits, repetition is building that muscle. And so I ended up just learning so much at that job. I mean, there were so many days I felt low, but at the end, when I overcame it, I had this confidence, like, throw an editor at me. I got this, you know. And so by pushing through it, it gave me the confidence to be able to launch my business.
Actually, before she went to New York, she had applied for a job here, and she got it. But then she also got that same offer in New York. So she was like, "Twin, I'm heading out of here. But I know that you want to change jobs. So since we kind of have the same resume, why don't we plug you in?" And so she called that supervisor and said, "I'm accepting an offer in New York, but my twin sister is interested in the position." And I applied for it. And I didn't know half of the responsibilities that were listed on there, but it was a well-paying job. Half of that job I did know. So you fake it till you make it, and then once you're there, you start that YouTube university again and learning what you can. And
it's again getting over that self-doubt. Like, you know what? I don't know it now, but my mama raised me to hustle. I'm gonna learn it. And of course, I'm always like, don't cry in the office. I would go cry in private and then come back. But yeah, that's helped me get to a lot of opportunities that I might have not taken.
It happens to most of us. I've definitely gone to the bathroom and cried over some stuff, and then go outside and I'm like, nothing ever happened. I did not cry right now. And I love the hustle. I love the fact that like you plug in your sister and she's like, I don't know half of these like components, but I'll learn on the job, because that's what you have to be in life.
Yeah, you learn.
Thank you. So we'll go ahead and open it up to some of the audience members if they have any questions. Please just go ahead and raise your hand or unmute and ask the questions. And if not, then I have a couple other questions that I can definitely ask. Go ahead, Josephine.
I just want to make a comment. I think you ladies are all fabulous. I think your accomplishments are awesome. And one thing I will say about entrepreneurship, I'm probably the oldest one here, but it allows you to change the world. So never forget that. Entrepreneurship gives you the advantage to have your own travel channel, to have your own network, to do whatever it is, even finance, even the things that we say are there, government. Being an entrepreneur allows you to be that change. and you girls are all the future. And, you know, the Latino market, like you guys said, is totally not even at the place where we should be. We're not represented in government. We're not represented at so many levels. And I know it from my 30 plus years of experience in the workforce. I've worked for government. I've been an entrepreneur, but just keep on the path. And, you know, that it's that habit that we build, that we can be the change for tomorrow. So you guys, my hat's off to you. I can't even just, I'm glad that Alexis, that you invited me, because this was just awesome. I'll tell you, for me, it's a constant growing. Even at my age, I'm still growing. And I'm looking at what direction am I going? You know, every 5, I was a high school teacher, and I used to tell my kids, look, you don't think the same way when you were 9th grade, a freshman, and then you graduate. You don't, and then 5 years at college, you don't think the same way. So we're constantly evolving and changing, but we grow from that. So you girls are wonderful. I mean, this has been a wonderful experience. So I hope I get invited again, because I love to hear you guys motivate me to go out and do more. So well done, guys.
Thank you, Josephine. I agree. These are women of excellence, and this is our entrepreneurship panel, but they are making strides in every single field. So thank you.
Can I touch upon, sorry, because they were talking about habits, which is amazing. I think another thing that, you know, I'll be 35 in a few months. So for me, it's like, you know, it's a huge milestone for me, but, you know, what would I tell my younger self, or if I was in college, right? But it could apply to anybody, but for any student right now, especially, habits is so important, but I would really start like a routine, like a morning routine. For me, one of the things that I do is I'm a morning person. So I wake up at 5 or 6 a.m., but you don't have to. But the thing is that I make sure that the first thing in the first part of the day, I fill my cup. So I do my yoga, I do my meditation, I do my affirmations. Affirmations has been life-changing for me. If anyone hasn't done affirmations, it's basically a statement in the I am, so in the present moment. So I am enough. I am, you know, a New York Times bestselling author. I am, fill in whatever it is that you want, but you put it in the present tense. What happens is, and I kind of cover this in my vision board workshop, is the reason why affirmations can be so effective if you do it consistently, is you're planting the seed of the thought that, you know, in the subconscious mind. So the logic conscious mind may be like, yeah, but I'm not a New York Times bestselling author. I'm not logic. But when you work with the subconscious mind, it will believe whatever you tell it. So it builds your confidence. A lot of successful people like Oprah, like talk about Will Smith, people who are really successful talk about affirmations. Jim Carrey's story is amazing. Jim Carrey, for those that don't know his story, he moved from Canada to Hollywood to be an actor, comedian. But there was a time where he was living in his car or sleeping in the cot at the comedy club. Like so many actors and models who are struggling at times until they get their big break. He would go after his shows, he would drive to Mulholland highway in the hills, and he would look down and visualize the roles that he wanted, the directors he wanted to play with, all these things that were not yet happening, but he would visualize and believe in it. And he wrote himself a check and he put it in his wallet. And another story is Sylvester Stallone. Sylvester Stallone, right before he wrote Rocky, he had to sell his dog. I mean, he would tell a story. He was so poor, he literally sold his dog, I think, for like $25. And it motivated him to write the script Rocky. And when he was pitching it out to studios, nothing, and then a little traction. And the studio was like, yeah, we'd love to buy your script, but we have our own actors. And he said, no, I'm going to play Rocky. This is my script. So he turned down offers and he believed in himself. And then eventually he got a studio that was like, okay, fine, you'll be Rocky and we'll pay you. Right. But going back to affirmations, is it really builds your confidence and plants a seed. When I first started doing affirmations years ago, I would write them on a Post-it and I would make it part of my morning routine. You know, take a shower, brush your teeth. I would put out my Post-it and I would say a couple affirmations in the mirror. every day. And one of them that I would say is I am lovable, right?
Mhm.
And it was such a transformative experience. I always tear up when I talk about it because I didn't realize for the longest time, I didn't believe I was worthy of love, right? So when I would tell myself in the mirror, I am lovable, like literally tears would come down my face because adult Jeannette was telling young Jeannette something she didn't believe.
Mhm.
So affirmations can be so transformative and so powerful. So like I would tell, anyone young and wants a dream, just to invest in your mindset, invest in yourself, do a morning routine. Tony Robbins has a saying, the first 90 minutes of the day are the most important. A lot of successful people talk about morning routines. The first 90 minutes sets the tone for your entire day. So take the time, get up earlier, do something for yourself, for your mind, read a book, listen to a podcast, watch YouTube. I listen to a lot of motivational YouTube like Les Brown or Oprah, and it really motivates me, so start the day off with something positive, optimistic. Do affirmations. I promise they're so effective. Do vision board, right? I love vision boards. Work on your skill set, your mindset. Mindset is so key. Mindset is what sets people apart, really, truly. Mindset will get you so far because despite the current circumstances, if you believe you can, like everyone says, you really will. So many things that I've done, people have told me you can't because you're this, you're that, or it's never been done before. And I did it, so I can say it, just believe in yourself. So
Completely agree. Since talking to you and taking your vision board course, I started doing my own affirmations, and I always have a new one on the board. Thank you, Josephine. Have a great day. And this one is like, this is your sign you're ready for it. And for me, that's important for me to understand because, again, I don't always feel worthy of different things, which is another reason why now I'm trying to say yes to a whole bunch of different opportunities that arise, including this one. And I'm so honored and privileged to be talking to you four amazing women. So thank you. Does anyone else have any other questions?
Yeah, I actually have a question. First of all, I want to say thank you. You all are so amazing and inspirational, and I'm just so inspired because of your ambition. And honestly, Jenna, I was like laughing because you were saying how to listen to podcasts, and I started that this week, and it's been so inspiring. Jay Shetty, I recommend his podcast because it's really amazing. But I guess my question is that, like, I'm inspired about what you guys do, and like from a Latin culture, at least like my family, there's like this like stigma that like you should be close to family, and if like you're the youngest like me, you should stay and like take care of your parents. So my question is, how did you guys make the decision to like leave home or pursue your dreams and still like maintain that connection?
Well, like I had mentioned earlier, when I did this, all of my mom's kids, sus pollitos, all live within a mile radius of our house. We're the only two that live all the way over here. Everyone else kind of lives in Anaheim, and we have one sister in Oakland. And when I decided to take the job, same thing. I called my oldest sister and I told her, Laura, I accepted a job. I'm so scared to tell my mom because I know she wants her pollitos all close by, but this is such a great opportunity. This is why we went to college and worked so hard for. I know she's going to be proud of me, but I also know that she is going to lay that guilt trip on me heavy. So I need you to kind of talk to her for me. And luckily, we were able, after a few tears, she accepted the fact that I was coming. And honestly, I was able to go into a career where now I can provide for my family. Both of us will send money back to my parents or fly them out here with us to be, during the pandemic, especially for the winter when it got really bad in California, we brought them out here to stay with us. So just because they're far away doesn't mean that you're not close to your family. It doesn't mean that you're not taking care of your family. There's many ways to do that. And then once they see you succeed, how proud they're going to be of you. I mean, They're gonna get over you leaving. And again, it's not really leaving. You can always visit them, they can visit you, but always, always go for it. The world is big. You have to see it.
And I think in our culture, like it's like you don't leave the house until you're married. And I did the opposite. So I moved here and then I went even further and I went to New York for a few years.
She's a baby, so my dad would always be, cuida la baby. Dale dinero a la baby. I'm like, dale dinero. I was like, no. I was like, she has to work for herself, and she did. But, you know, with family, they always want you to be close and united.
What was also great, though, is because we were so our sister Natalie moved to Oakland and then we moved across the coast. But now our nieces and nephews who are in college, now for them, it's not a big deal if they move away to college or if they go away for an internship. So somebody has to break that, right? Somebody has to break that idea for them. Then after the next generation, it's like, váyanse, you know, follow the toy and see if they can give you an internship.
You don't know how many nieces and nephews have been shipped to DC to like show them the world, show them how DC is, let them know that there's places outside of Anaheim. And we get so stuck in our bubble and our circle of friends. And when you see the world, and it's just amazing. I mean, when we moved here, I lived with the Puerto Ricans, a girl from Venezuela, I forgot and a Dominican, and we all talk Spanish. We lived together and I couldn't understand a single word they said. I was so just, you know, we grew up in California. There's a lot of Mexicans. The only place we really traveled to ever was Mexico. So we didn't know that there was just so much more to learn, especially even with our community. Not all Latinos are the same. We don't have the same background all the time. So yeah, it's just so cool once you get to explore different people, different cultures, different places. So the more you get to do that, which is why now I want to change careers to travel. I'm like almost upset that you're still working with me. I'm upset that I didn't know this was like a career path. It's like kind of my mind is blown. And I'm a huge fan of Anthony Bourdain. My husband and I, you know, spent the first 5 years of our marriage just traveling, going, you know, we went to Hong Kong recently, which I'm so glad we got to, because now look at that. It's just not the same anymore. We, you know, went to Puerto Rico and then Hurricane Maria hit, and like, whenever you get the opportunity to do these things, you have to do them.
Don't quit, we'll pivot.
Let's pivot, let's do something travel-wise. I mean, we travel a lot for our clients, you know, we travel all over the country, but traveling internationally is so different. Like you said, I think it really does unite people because you just see different backgrounds and you just get to learn so many different ideas and cultures. And so.
Yeah, no, I think it's great. I mean, and travel, like, there's opportunities. I think even during the pandemic, even though we're not really traveling, we realized that we can do things remotely. So a lot of people realize they don't actually have to go to an office environment and do the whole 9 to 5 thing. You can work pretty much if you have internet, Wi-Fi, and a computer and a camera. So that's a positive. So it's totally positive.
I've been telling Maritza to go because, I mean, my husband and I traveled a lot, and then we had kids, and it's kind of, you know, we'll still go somewhere outside of the country once or twice a year. But with Maritza, I'm like, you're single, you have no kids, you have money, you have a laptop, lárgate, like, go see the world. So 2021, this is my year.
Yes, absolutely. And then just going back to Carmela, with your question, what year are you in school?
I'm a third year, so okay. I might, yeah.
There's still possibility for you to do a study abroad. I really think this year, I mean, I'm an optimist, but I feel like we're getting to turning the page of, you know, I see the light at the end of the tunnel. There probably, hopefully by next year, be opportunity for you to study abroad or to do an internship abroad. I did study abroad in Italy, but I lived in Australia. I took a 6-month contract job in Australia. So I'm a Gemini. So for me, it's like you'll understand. I'm just like all over the place. But so for me, when going to your question, in 2012, there was a language school that was looking for Americans to teach English. And so for me, I got the ESL certification because I always knew that if I wanted to work abroad for some time, I could teach English while I was traveling. And that never expired, that certificate. So I had friends who were teaching abroad, and I just told her, I was like, yeah, I would love to go to Australia one day. I didn't know it was, you know, it was going to be actually considered, but I was. And there's, at the time, I don't know now what the Australian visas are like, but at the time they had a visa for Americans. If you're 18 to 30 years old, you could do what's called a work and holiday visa. So if you have a job, you can work and stay there for a year. So long story short, I got the job offer, which included apartment, weekends off.
Oh,
The Australian dollar was stronger than the US dollar at that time. I don't know about now. And so when they offered me the job, I said, yep, absolutely doing it. And I wanted to experience living abroad again. But my family, my parents, particularly, traditional Mexican parents, my parents, they were like, do you not love us? Why do you have to go to the furthest place literally in the world? And you know what I told them? I said, you know what? This is a once in a lifetime opportunity. I don't know when I will have, an offer in this country. It's good pay, 6-month contract job, and I'll get to travel after. I was like, bye. And so I had already graduated college. I worked a couple jobs. For me, it was like I wanted to experience and just travel. So you kind of regret the things you don't do, right?
Mhm.
So I'll never regret taking that job and living abroad and doing the study abroad. So your family will understand, your parents, as long as you're, of course, safe when you're traveling anyways and studying or working abroad. I think that you just have to be cautious wherever you are. I mean, I was followed in broad daylight in New York City, and this is America. So I think that unfortunately danger is everywhere, and you just have to be very vigilant and cautious, especially as a woman. But having said that, I mean, don't limit yourself, right? If you want to work and study abroad and travel in a better time in the future, do it, go for it. You always regret the things you don't do.
You don't do.
Your family will understand if you have a great internship or a great job opportunity. Your family will understand, I'm sure.
Yeah. Carmela, the options are out there for you, so go ahead and take it by the hand and do whatever you need to do for yourself. Jeannette, do you now live near your family?
So I'm in California, and I'm also in Nashville during the pandemic. But both my parents have pre-existing health issues. So they're both divorced and live alone. So my mom had multiple surgeries from Thanksgiving to January. So in a way, the pandemic, not traveling, I'm actually able to be there and help them during their own difficult times. Luckily, it's not anything COVID related. It's just pre-existing health issues. So I am in California and Nashville. So I'm literally back and forth every few months. So yeah.
Well, I'm so sorry to hear that about your mom, and hopefully she makes a speedy recovery.
Thank you.
So I'll just have the last question, and I know Andrea already put some of the social medias tags out there right now in the comment section, but is there any other way that we can support you all with your own ventures? And I'll let anyone take this one.
No, yeah. If anybody needs a virtual event, let us know. And then obviously if we can help any of you, reach out, or if you just have any question that you think of later, let us know. But yeah.
Thank you.
I mean, I would just say, if you know of anybody, any, I guess, travel opportunity, I mean, not really like physically traveling, but if anybody's looking for a travel expert or someone to help with the travel trip or anything, that's more my area of expertise. Also, what I forgot to mention is I do work a lot with the Latin media, and I really try to get the Latin media to talk about travel, because it's really an area where I've knocked on a few doors and, nothing has happened. So February of last year, I talked to a producer at Telemundo in San Diego, and I was like, hey, I hear these cases. You guys, this is January 2020, and I'm pitching Telemundo. I go, I'm hearing about these cases about a virus. I think it would be good. Of course, I didn't know what was about to happen. He's like, yeah, I think we're interested, but we'll get back to you. Never got back to me. But I was talking because and I was pitching them because American media was really covering it. But the angle that I was pitching was that the first airplane with the first case had landed in California. And I was pitching that, like, okay, what is the travel angle with this? And I was trying to get the Spanish media to understand that there's a travel component, and it just didn't happen. So really trying to, like, you know, work with the Latin media as well and say, listen, travel has to do with everything. And it's not just leisure travel. It's travel is local economies. Travel is cargo travel. Travel is lots of people's jobs, pilots, flight attendants, you know, railroad, trains, cruises. I mean, it's so much more in depth, and it's not just leisure. So travel affects and is affected by everything going on right now. So it can be in anything. Yeah. So if anyone's looking for anything traveled, like, let me know.
Sounds good. Thank you. And then Caroline?
Yeah, we're still trying to grow our social media presence, and we're really investing our creativity into YouTube this year. So if you can subscribe to our Vibes Media, follow us on Instagram, TikTok. We're also on Twitter. That's very much appreciated. Any engagement, likes, shares. And also feel free to reach out to me personally. All my social media is at The Sweet Carols. If you have any questions or need like advice regarding internships or questions for like recent grads. I just graduated in 2019, so I'm here to help if you need anything.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Caroline. Again, I really appreciate everyone being here. I mentioned this like 3 times already, but Women's History Month, and we're talking to 4 influential women who are making strides in their fields. So we have PR, entertainment, and travel and journalism. I can't thank you all enough. I'm honored to have been able to moderate this this entire conversation, and hopefully, for me, I'll just say, you guys can follow me, ask me anything, DM me. My ads are at Flores Alexis LA and at Communications AF. So again, appreciate you all, and have a great rest of your weekends.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coordinating this. It was great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
And stay in contact, everyone. If I could, you know, I'd love to stay in contact. So thank you.
Yeah,
definitely. Thanks, everyone. Take care and be safe.